Welcome to the official podcast of the British Academy of Cosmetic Dentistry. Whether you're a seasoned dental professional, an eager student, or simply someone curious about the intricacies of cosmetic dentistry, you're in the right place. Here at the BACD, we bring together the brightest minds, groundbreaking research, and innovative practices from across the UK and beyond. In each episode, we aim to delve deep, offering insights, sharing stories, and demystifying the beautiful world of cosmetic dentistry. I'm Simon Chard, President of the BACD, and I'm thrilled to have you join us on this enlightening journey. Let's dive right in.
Welcome to today's podcast. My name is Carol Somerville-Roberts. I'm one of the board of the BACD, and it is my absolute pleasure today to be talking to Dr. Anthony Mack, who is going to be one of our hands-on speakers at our conference this year in November in London between the 9th and the 11th of November. And we are really excited to be welcoming Dr. Mack to London. He will be doing a hands-on session, which is titled Aesthetics with Direct Resins Using Injection Technique. And then he'll also be lecturing on aesthetic adhesive restorations in the anterior dentition. Dr. Mack is a dental surgeon in Sydney, Australia. He has two absolutely beautiful practices. They are so wonderful, very contemporary. They're set up on a philosophy and ethos of modern comprehensive dentistry that strives for perfection. Dr. Mack is a huge advocate of digital dentistry and also minimally invasive restorative dentistry. He lectures all over the world. He is a KOL for many, many things, and we're delighted today to be talking to him. So welcome, Dr. Mack. Please, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey into dentistry?
Hi, Carol. How are you? Thank you for inviting me to this little podcast, and it's great to have people listening and I guess sharing my little story. So I guess I'm based in Sydney, in the heart of Australia. Like I said before, my main practice is very close to Bondi Beach. I'm sure a lot of people in the UK have sort of maybe visited there or have heard about it, or may have watched a show called Bondi Rescue. But yeah, it's a beautiful little practice where we try to practice comprehensive restorative dentistry. I basically did all my schooling in Sydney, and I've always considered Sydney my home. So no, it's a wonderful place to be in. Our practices, we've got, it's a multidisciplinary practice. We're fully digital. We have our own in-house laboratory, and it's a fully digital laboratory where all the jobs are all through digital scans, STL files. We have our own sort of master Japanese ceramist and a team of CAD designers. And, I'm very lucky to have all the toys, printers, milling units, scanners. We have specialists visiting. We have oral surgeons. We have pediatric specialists. And we work with some of the other sort of local specialties that don't come and visit us in our practice. So, I mean, all that is just to hopefully create a really lovely environment for our patients to be looked after so they can get really nice care.
Fantastic. And what was it that made you decide you wanted to become a dentist? Is this something that's been in your family, or you just like the maverick and started a new thing?
Probably if I told you probably wouldn't believe me, but I actually stumbled into dentistry. I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with any schooling in high school in Australia, but I was in one of those public academic schools. And to get into dentistry in our final year, we sort of had to get off school and actually spend half a day where we had to sit for a separate exam, like a GAMSTAT or like a general knowledge exam, to make sure that you can read, you can write, your maths are good. And all my friends just decided they wanted to do dentistry, and so they were all going off school for a day, and I said, well, I didn't know anything about it, but because everyone was going to leave school for a day. I said, I'll just join you just for the fact that I can hang out. So I did the test, and luckily enough, there was only 2 people that passed that test, that got passed into the interview stage for dentistry. And the other person now is a well-known neurosurgeon. He came top in our state, in New South Wales in Australia, and the other guy was me. So who was at the bottom of the other spectrum. So I just fell into it. I managed to get in, and people were saying, you're silly not to try it. And so I tried it, and I loved it. And I've always had very good sort of hand skills, in the sense that I love models. I was always good at racket sports, and so I sort of really thrive in that environment where when we started sort of seeing patients and did that clinical work.
Wow. So obviously very lucky break there.
Yeah.
And so what if you kind of were talking a bit about your practice and how that's set up? What do you think your real passion is within dentistry?
I have to say that like, technologies and digital dentistry. I mean, that's something that, we've spent the last probably more than a decade, focusing on and improving and pushing boundaries. And in terms of that field, is more restorative dentistry. Most of my work is implants and restorative work. And that's really been, my passion in the last decade in what we've done. So where we feel we're not as strong at, we've got, like I said, we've got some really good colleagues and mentors who either visit us or we work very closely with. And so those are the, we feel, are the strengths in our practice that the practice is set up for, really. Yeah.
Fantastic. And how long have you had your practices for?
I started my practice in 2008. I've been practicing for about 21 years. I had some really good mentors, some really well-known people from Australia who are also sort of well-known and speakers around the world. And so I was really lucky to learn off them. And one of my goals when I started my practice was if I could ever be half as successful as what they'll be, I'll be happy, and that was something that, I kept, true to myself and just kept trying and just delivering, quality work. And that's one of the ethos is, if it's good, it's not good enough if we wouldn't have it in our mouths. And I think that's something that we're very passionate about, and that we keep true to in our everyday practice.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. So where do you see the future of dentistry going?
I mean, look, there's so many fields of dentistry, but I don't know where it's going, because it's changing so fast. Like literally with AI and with all the technologies and all the modern stuff, that there is a definitely drive to a new way of practicing dentistry, and that is not just learning how to use a tool. It's a real change in mindset in how we apply these technologies for it. For example, the traditional articulator I feel is going to be no more in the future, because we're going to be looking at 4D virtual live jaw movements, not just from a scan but from a radiographic point of view. We're gonna see so many things. And just yesterday I was speaking to a company, the owner of one of the a well-known 3D printing companies, and they're talking about light scanners which can penetrate through teeth, so you can see all the internal parts of teeth just from a camera. No longer you need to take X-rays. It's already out there, and it's on the market. So things are evolving so much, and I think that's where it's exciting but also scary. And I feel that we really need to embrace it and be open-minded. I think that's one thing that I share with a lot of people. Be open-minded with these. And I think there's always, in technology, is always a pushback, or it's not as accurate, or it's not as good, and things like that. And I always say to them, well, let's always focus on the 80-20 rule. We want something that can do really good quality stuff 80% of the times. We don't need it we don't need to invest in technology, and only invest in it if it can to do the 10 or 20% of things that we very rarely see. And I think it's just a progress in how things are. So that's where I see dentistry moving. It's that we're going to use the technology is going to be it's going to make our life so much more simpler. Where would I like dentistry to go? Well, I would like someone to be able to build a robotic nurse, because finding staff and finding auxiliaries is so hard in our country at the moment. So, if
Same
someone
here.
if someone can build they're building humanoids. If they can build a humanoid that can assist and think and know what you're going to be doing next, I think that's going to be the breakthrough in dentistry.
Wow. Yeah, maybe so, maybe so. So obviously you're doing a hands-on session for us on the 9th of November. Just talk through a bit about what the delegates can expect to kind of learn and take away from that session, some stuff that would make them excited. Because obviously, in terms of anterior resins, there are different approaches, and you're going to be talking about the injection technique. Is this a technique that you use all the time?
Yeah, I use this very commonly, and I think a little bit about the history of I guess this technique and how we sort of embraced it was really two things. I mean, back around 2000, and I think it was about 2013. The newer sort of paradigm shift in sort of flowable composites, especially with the company that's supporting me with this is from GC. They started developing this material called injectable composite. So it was more like a flowable composite, but with the physical properties of a traditional paste composite. And it basically gave us a new type of class of materials, because now you have these materials which were very, very strong and able to withstand load much better than conventional, traditional flowable composites, and without the shrinkage stresses, without all the problems of traditional flowables. And we've got this material that you can actually use it as on the top layer as a restorative material. And then you add to that was that then came the sort of the influx of digital dentistry. So where we're able to mock up teeth really easily rather than using wax. We're able to mock up teeth on our digital softwares, and we're able to manipulate them where we don't have to wax up the whole mouth. We can wax up every second teeth. And then if you combine that with some 3D printing where we can print these models, and then with some new generation of sort of clear silicons where it's super clear, we're able to, so then it's sort of everything sort of clicked and married together and formed this new technique, which has been around, and which was one of the founders like Douglas Terry sort of developed this many years ago. But all the things that all the challenges we face with that technique, all of a sudden sort of become more simple and was solved because of these types of technologies that came through. And so that's when I sort of embraced that and started using this technique more, using it in a digital workflow, using it as a vertical dimension increase, using it in the case where we can give people either permanent restorations or intermediate restoration. We call it transitional restorations before maybe an indirect sort of rehab, and be able to copy and create lifelike restorations from a digital mock-up and transferring that accurately. It sort of all fell into pieces, and this was all sort of fell together. And this sort of came about several years ago, and when all these materials came out, and I sort of embraced that because I was at that time working very closely with the dental company GC who were developing these materials. So I was very lucky enough to trial and actually participate in a lot of the developments and how the handling and the colors and the characteristics of how they should be performed. And we had a little input. And so it just formed sort of nicely. I mean, in my session, we're going to teach two different techniques. There's a common one where people use a lot of Teflon to separate the teeth. We've sort of over the years sort of found a way that we don't need to use Teflon, because we find that if you have Teflon tape separating teeth, you're going to increase the level of tolerance in your stents where they're not going to sit properly. And because it's okay if you have one piece of Teflon, but if you have 4 or 5 pieces of Teflon, how can we expect to be able to sit that silicon gut exactly where it was taken? And so that how can we sort of say, well, did we transfer that restoration or that injected restoration precisely? But if we didn't have to use the Teflon and we can able to do this, we find that we get a much accurate and much sort of refined restoration, I guess. And that's sort of what we'll be sharing with everyone in our hands-on workshop, how to sort of wear cases using this injectable technique, but in a special way where we can avoid using or having to use the Teflon tape as the separator.
Wow, sounds very exciting because I've always thought, yeah, like, when doing that technique, that, as you say, how do you get an accurate fit when you have to put Teflon in? So definitely one I'd be interested in learning. And talk to us a little bit about, what you're going to be doing on your Saturday morning session, because that's always, the one after the gala dinner on the Friday night. We want it to be a really exciting session. So people are there and really excited to hear what you've got to say. So what do you think you're going to be talking about?
Carol, you're giving me a warning there that the first session after the gala dinner, I better come up with something quite poppy and better to get people interested in coming, hey, because it'll be quite a big night.
It's a big night. Yeah, it's going to be a really fun one.
Okay.
So hopefully you'll be there. But yeah, so what do you say? What can our delegates look forward to on Saturday morning?
I mean, look, that lecture is a lot of it's everything about what we've done in form of digital and restorative dentistry over the last 15 years. It's showing long-term cases. It's talking about how the predictable workflow. There's a lot of there's a lot of different pieces to the puzzle in what we call a digital workflow. It's not like the traditional workflow where we know it works. You take a good PVS impression, the lab pours up in a stone model and then waxes up the die and then creates a restoration. All this is very stock standard, well proven and tested. Whereas to do the same thing using modern restorative techniques, trying to be minimally invasive, but also doing it in a completely digital workflow where everything is simplified and streamlined, where the patient gets the benefits. That has been the challenge for us because there's so many different softwares out there. There's so many different types of materials or milling units. There's so many different types of 3D printers. Which one do you use? Which one is the one that's going to give me a good result? And over the 15 years, we sort of tried and tested and failed in lots of different ways, and we sort of streamlined it to a sort of a nice workflow where we know what works. And we're going to share with you how we manage these aesthetic cases using direct restorations, but also cases where you use indirect restorations in the form of all ceramic veneers. And we're going to show cases where we do a combination of them. And we have lots of videos to show and how we do these cases. And one of the things I've been well known for is creating these nice sort of stories for these cases and how they're presented. So hopefully everyone will be just come and just listen. I don't mind even if people are sort of half dozy. It's okay. I think it'll be good to share what I have with everyone.
Yeah, no, I'm very much looking forward to it. So you touched a little bit about the fact that you've been involved with GC for a while. What is it about GC products that you particularly like, or them as a company?
Oh, I think they're a company. I mean, look, we've worked with many different dental companies over the years, and I've really been very appreciative of all of them, and I've been very appreciative of GC because I think it's just the ethos and the leadership behind the company itself, and the philosophy that they impart in working together with the dentists and the community and developing products. And I think just having they've got a really large research team based in Europe. They've got research teams based in Japan, and they're really big in focus in R&D, and you can show that the products are designed and well designed and always seem to work very, very well. And one of the things I really enjoy about their products is that the QC of them is always good. Like very rarely would you have a bad batch of composite or resin cement from GC. And so, but I mean, look, there are lots of products out there which are very good from different companies, but GC's just been very, I think the ethos behind their research and the development of their materials and the quality of their QC, everything has that, Japanese attention to detail to it. And I think that's something that you can see when we use them, I guess.
Yeah, they're lovely products. And so if you said you fell into dentistry by accident, now if you hadn't been a dentist, what do you think you would have done? What would be the dream or are you living the dream?
I think I'm living the dream. Like, I honestly, I'm very lucky that I have everything in my practice that we would love. You know what I mean? Who wouldn't want a master ceramist just upstairs from your surgery that you can call upon? I mean, we're very lucky to have all the gadgets and toys. And most importantly, I'm very lucky is in the sense that we have a beautiful patient base, patients who actually appreciate what we do, who they're part of our family. So, I think that's something that's really important, that connection with our community, our local community. And, we're able to, the patients allow us to create beautiful restorations for them. So, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be able to do what I love. So I think that's sort of the main thing that I feel I wouldn't do it any other way. I think I am living the dream at the moment. We have a really good quality of life, and dentistry's allowed me to travel the world. For example, I'm coming to London in November. I go to Belgium. I've been to Asia. I've been to many places through dentistry. So, and it's always good to meet friends right across the world. So I think I am definitely living the dream.
Yeah, it's a very, very rewarding career. As you say, patients are the ones that can make it something really special. Um, so is there anything that you'd like to share with us that I haven't asked you about yet?
Um, No, look, outside of dentistry, I'm a big tennis fan. I just came back from London. Actually, I was very lucky to get some Wimbledon tickets. So
Wow.
I actually visited London for a few days just last month, and I actually had managed to get 2 tickets for my son and I, who were big tennis fans, and we were able to visit. And it was the first time I've been to Wimbledon, and I was actually absolutely blown away. It's probably the best Grand Slam event out of every other places. And so it was so special. I had such a special day.
Oh, fantastic. And so have you been to other sort of huge, big tennis tournaments? Do you go to the Australian Open?
Yeah, we go to that regularly and things like that. And, we visited the French Open. I'm yet to do the US Open yet. So it's one of those things. But yeah, no, my son plays a lot of tennis and it's part of our family. And so we really enjoy it. So, one day if I can manage to get a debenture at Wimbledon, that's something that's a life goal. I think that's on the bucket list.
Okay. And so do you obviously mentioned, have you, you've got children? How many children have you got?
Oh, I've got 2 little ones. I've got one that's turning 13 this weekend. That's my daughter,
Oh, wow.
and my son is 10 at the moment. So I'm right in the thick of it, actually, between work and family. I mean, they're not they're what I say? They are at an age where they've got so much on, but they're not able to get there themselves. So there's a lot of Ubering around outside of work.
Yeah.
So. Um,
Yeah.
so that's what we've been doing a lot of times between Ubering them around and dentistry and work. It keeps me very busy.
I'm sure it does. And would you be happy if they followed you into dentistry?
Um, Look, I'm not sure actually. I feel I mean, look, I think anything they do, I mean, involves a lot of hard work, isn't it? And I think our philosophy is that if they enjoy what they're doing and they can do it every day, we feel that they will be successful at it. And I think that's something as a family that we sort of believe in. So I mean, whatever they want to do. My son wants to be a professional tennis player. My daughter at the moment wants to be a fashion designer. So who knows?
Yeah.
It doesn't look like they've got the genes. And I have to say, look, I was not your typical dental student either. I mean, there's one thing that people don't know about, or people in my dental school would know, but they would not have seen ever that I would be doing what I'm doing now. Like I was probably in my first couple of years, I think they thought that I wasn't going to make it to my final year. That's how much I struggled. I think if they had to pick who was going to fail dentistry after the first 2 years and be one of those ones that failed and get kicked out and be work at a I don't know, at a supermarket or as a waiter or something else, I would have been that person. So I don't know, something sort of clicked and in I think my third year of dental school, and I managed to end up doing really well at the end of it. So life changes, I guess.
Yeah, fantastic. And see, look at you now. It's done. You've traveled the world. You've got living the dream. So, that's fantastic. I think that's a great note to end on. So, thank you so much for your time. Really, really excited to meet you in person in November. I'm really looking forward to your sessions. And so, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that. And hopefully everyone will come on the Saturday for my lecture. And look, if you can't make it, I understand. I know there's a reason for it. You don't hate me personally. It's more, we had a big night out the night before.
Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
You too. Cheers. Thank you.